Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of the Does Metal Have Soul podcast. This is episode number 10, I think.
Yes.
And we are today going to be delving into the one and the only YNGWIE MALMSTEEN.
Boo! No, I'm kidding.
We're going to look at his entire career, every band that he's played in and each singer that he has worked with. And Mel is going to end up ranking all of his vocalists to see what she likes. She's probably just going to say, I hate all of this. Anyway, I am one of your hosts, Mr. Levi Clay, and it's too easy. My ghost-headed assistant.
Ghostface.
Yeah, Melissa Kelly. How's it going?
I'm grand. I'm absolutely spanking, sparkly, shiny, wonderful. I'm a sweet summer child. It's been a weird week.
I don't know if I buy that.
It's just been a weird week. It's been a very bizarre week.
This started with Smithers.
Are we really?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
For people that listen to the podcast and maybe didn't go and watch that particular video.
Basically, long story boring. I get people who come to gigs all the time and they'll do things like, hey, you fancy a gig in this bar I work in? Or, hey, I really know Paolo Nutini's da. And it happens all the time. And honestly, most of the time I take it in my stride. It doesn't actually offend me in the least because drunk people be drunken, you know? I'm sure I've said stupid bullshit when I'm drunk before as well.
Yeah.
So I never ever get offended or upset by it. It's part of being a human. And where I am, I perform in a bar called Riding Room. It's an LGBTQI bar. It's mostly cabaret, but proper vaudeville style cabaret, not sort of just shit singing. And it's mostly regulars that come to my gig on the Wednesday night because it's a Wednesday night, it's a residency, it happens every week. And we always say the same to the newcomers is everybody's welcome, even if you're heterosexual, you're also welcome. You might be a guest, but you're still absolutely invited. We get a lot of straight couples as well. It's really good fun. Anyway, one of them basically said, hey kid, you want to be on the West End? It was just one of those times where somebody told a massive, massive lie and doubled down on it.
Yeah, rather than just holding your hands up and saying, look, I was really drunk last night and I said some silly things. I thought you were amazing and I just wanted to talk to you. And rather than just talking to you like a normal person, I lied and made you all these promises because I thought that made me more interesting. Instead of doing that, he was like, oh, better block her.
Which is just, this is the thing, I'm just a human. I'm just a human in a hat trying to get through the day. And if anyone, literally anyone, you could have smacked my mother. And if you came up to me and went, Melissa, I slapped your mother. I'm so sorry, but she did call me a cunt beforehand. And she also ran over my cat. Do you know what I would say? Fair, I would have slapped her as well.
Yeah. But we did hear back from Smithers.
We did. And I got that weird thing because I know you used to make Rage Time videos.
Yeah.
It's not something that I ever want to do for any length of time. I made the video because I thought it'd be a funny thing to talk about and interesting at the same time. He did get back to me. He was very apologetic.
This was after blocking you.
This was after blocking me. He was very apologetic. He talked about the fact that his grandfather had passed, and that he got very drunk. And
I've had people in my life die, but I've never felt like, oh, this person that I really cared about has died. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go and lie to strangers.
Well, the thing is, I went back to him because, again, I'm not a dickhead, despite what some people might think. And I just went, listen, it's totally fine. I accept your apology. I'm actually only asking for you to think really hard about what you did and how devastating it could be to someone who doesn't know what you're doing. And people are not toys. And you might have came into a gay bar with the intention of looking at it like it's a fucking zoo, but it's not. The people in here might wear wigs, but they're all real people, and it's not fair. And he very much took it on the chin at that point. But I also did say to him, I do think your apology is cynically motivated. You wouldn't have apologised to me had I not made a video.
He could have apologised to you the next day, I said.
And as I said to him, I was like, I'm not looking for an apology. You don't need to apologise to me.
It's beyond cynically motivated because I was just waiting for his inevitable, can you take the video down now, please?
Well, he didn't ask for that.
That will come.
I said to him, I was like, listen, I don't need an apology. I want you to not do it.
You might have dealt with a million people in bars that tell you lies in order to get close to you, but if there's one thing I've dealt with, it's people that I've made a video about and drawn attention to the fact that they're a scumbag, and it always comes. Please, can you take it down now, please?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. No one cares. My channel's fairly small. And I'm okay with that. It's growing all the time.
Subscribe.
Yeah, you better. If you're watching this and you're not subscribed, no, you don't have to. But like, I try my best. I'm just a little guy trying to get through the day. I made a little video that I thought would be funny, and some of my favourite commenters did find it really funny, and that's really what I wanted. So yes. Yeah. But it's just one of those weeks where you're like, come on, people. Come on. If an asteroid is due to hit us, the least we should do is like behave like we like each other for a little bit.
Yeah, it's definitely been a bit of a miserable week for music, but we can find people all over the world that enjoy the content that we make. We want to keep making this podcast, and the best way for us to do that is for you guys to support it, and you can do that financially, but you can also do it by silly things like signing up for that piano free trial,
or just sharing it and stuff. Like I'm not here being like, if you don't give me £500, I don't know why I suddenly became Motorhead, but I did. But yeah, just sharing it like somewhere that your friends will like it, and they'll also be like, it's like a pyramid scheme. If one of you share it, then 3 of you share it.
Yeah, it's tragic, really, because I'm very rarely dejected by the music industry because my internet side of things is successful enough that local failure doesn't actually matter all that much.
Sure. I think the thing that I always say to young people when they come rushing up to me excited and, I want to be a musician and I want to do this and I think it's really cool and I love this artist and, and I love that for them and I do still feel like that and I'll hold on to that till the day I die. But I do say to them, be sure that music is something that runs within you like the middle of a stick of rock. The words are music. Be sure that is the case, because that's the only thing that will keep you warm on weeks like this week, which sounds so dark and sounds so terrible, but you need to know I'm not digging trenches. I'm a very happy person. But, on weeks like this, you just need to go, okay, why did I do this again?
It would be nice to be financially compensated for the things that you enjoy doing and are very good at. It would be nice to know that tomorrow we're not going to have to make phone calls and potentially take venues to small claims courts for not paying invoices. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Every career path in the world, I think, has its own static and has its own problems. And I'm sure all of you out there that are not musicians do plenty of stuff every day where you're fighting with managers or not being paid enough or not being appreciated. Thank you, capitalism. But I think music sometimes is one of the stickier ones, just purely because it's built on the idea. Music's an international language that we all speak, and it's something we all share in and we all love to a certain degree. And it's unfortunately, there's music and there's business.
Yeah. And
the business thing has become so much more important than the music part.
We saw that, we shared a post, both of us shared a post days apart on social media of that musician from Edinburgh.
Sorry, I totally shouted that.
That musician from Edinburgh who had turned up for a gig and the PA didn't work. So she spent the entire time of her gig trying to fix the PA so it would be functional for the next band that were in the next day. And then the venue wouldn't pay her. And it's like, well, it's not my PA, I've shown up to do my job. I'm here. I've been here for all this time, and it was a really low fee. It's £150. Like, if anything, she was doing the music industry a disservice by working for as little as that.
But sometimes...
Yeah, you take what you have to if you're desperate. But, really abusive, unprofessional text message to her, shutting her down and being like, you're sorry, let me explain this to you. You're not getting paid because you didn't do anything. And it's like, no, sir, you wretched scumbag. You didn't do anything. Yeah. And that musician... I'm almost certainly desperately relying on that £150.
Yeah.
Or else they wouldn't be taking gigs for as low a fee as that. Mm-hmm. And you're just going to refuse to give it to them so you can have a little bit more profit this week. Get fucked.
And here's the worst of it, right? See that bar that she was gigging in? It's right round from an old place I used to work in Edinburgh. Right. And I know the bar because it's Edinburgh. It's on a very popular street in Edinburgh. It's never dead. It's always busy. They charge £8 a pint, Dublin prices, because it's fucking Edinburgh. And it's like, but you can see the fucking, Ken, you can see the fucking Edinburgh Castle. Like, get fucked. Yeah. I don't give a shit if you can see the castle. You're going to charge me £8 a pint and then charge a musician or give a musician £150
or
when your bar's heaving all the time.
Or not give them £150 in this case. So
listen, it's not even that. I don't advocate for what I'm about to say, but I've done it before. I've worked in venues before where they've tried to do shit like that with me, or got to the end of the night and they'd be like, yeah, I'm not going to pay you for whatever reason. One time it happened in Montrose and I got a little bit postal. I start lifting things. I start lifting or damaging things. I'm like, oh, you want to go? Cool. I'm going to go behind the bar right now. I'm going to start lifting opticals off of the wall. I've done it before and I'll do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because in that situation, what are they going to do?
What are you going to do?
They're going to call the police.
Call the police.
It's like, this is a civil matter.
I mean, I should very much stress, please don't do that. It's a bad idea.
Yeah.
And depending on what culture you're in, it might go down even worse.
Right, give me some Metalhead musings, please.
Also, if you ever get sad, just go and listen to Kim Kitsuragi from Disco Elysium. There's a whole
or watch X-Men.
There's a whole YouTube place where you can listen to all the things that he says with his quiet determination. Okay. The first one is from Millicent Oak. Millicent Oak literally commented on my very first YouTube video and has been commenting ever since. Millicent Oak can stay forever.
Seems that even if you didn't want Millicent Oak to stay forever, they would anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I'm looking for. Millicent Oak says of the Black Metal podcast from last week, while black metal has its problems with far-right groups who've carved out their crappy little subgenre, it also has people who've tried to reclaim the space by creating red and black metal, which is black metal that focuses on anarchist, communist and socialist themes.
Awesome. What a fucking waste of time. Carry on.
I'm going to fight you today.
I'm
not even finished.
I understand that, but the opposite of right wing is not communism.
Yeah, but they're just offering an extra slant of what's going on. Some are self-serious, like Ashton Spire with "Speak Not of the Laudanum Quandary," which what a fantastic title, and Cable Street Again from Hostile Architecture. Some less so, like Neckbeard Death Camp, which is wonderful, with "Please Respond, I Showed You My Penis." From White Nationalism is for basement-dwelling losers. So, not saying you'd enjoy the experience of hearing either of them, but they exist. I have a feeling this comment is for the YouTube little box of shame, but it wasn't, because you said penis. It's fine. Yeah. It's totally fine. I like that one because it's Balenciaga, isn't it? Because we watched a lot of that death metal stuff, and there was a little section of it we talked about where there's murders and terrible things like that. And I'm sure there's always another side of that where people are not doing crazy shit. And I'm sure there's black metal that I would actually really enjoy. And I know some of you in the comments from the last podcast were like, they
tried.
But Melisa! And I appreciate that.
They tried. I played Melisa a few things during the week, and every single one is like, nope, no thank you. And to be fair, it's the same for me. It's the same for me.
I'm not a giant, by the way.
No, you are. I was going to say, that's just a normal
It's just a normal can.
You're just a giant.
Oh, wait. They go.
Yeah. I don't think there's no getting Melisa into black metal, but I think the value of that last podcast, aside from, it being an interesting history lesson for the first and second wave of black metal, is it achieved the goal of the podcast, which is now, if for whatever reason some music comes on, some metal music comes on, and it's black metal, Melisa can actually distinguish that and go, oh, this is black metal, I don't like black metal. That's fine.
Melisa can distinguish and go, put this off.
But, you're not going to hear a thrash metal band and go, oh, is this black metal? No. Or a death metal band and go, oh, is this black metal? You know what the black metal sound is now. And that's
Levi played me some during the week, and I said to him, I never realised how much I care about phrasing until I listen to something that has the complete absence of it. And I think that encapsulates everything for me, black metal wise.
Yeah.
I care really deeply about vocalist phrasing.
Yeah.
Which is the lamest bullshit I've ever said.
No, it's not. No, it's not, because also you're a songwriter and you care about lyrics, and I'm not saying that black metal doesn't have lyrics and can't have important themes, but generally speaking, when you need to read the lyrics to work out what's being said, I feel the same about death metal, right? If you can't clearly make out the thing that's being said, then you're expecting the listener to do too much work to get to the core of the thing that you're trying to say to them.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I think the best thing that anyone can do is if you find a black metal band that's super campy and perhaps enjoys the Universal Monsters, send me that. I might like that.
All right, what else you got?
I've got... Okay, this one is a tough read, and I'm going to need you to just Take a wee deep breath.
Do I shut up? Yeah, not
No,
say
no,
anything.
you don't need to shut up.
Okay.
I just know that it might hurt your soul as much as it hurt
Okay,
mine.
right.
It was on a Poppy video, and
okay.
to Bob I say, I respect your opinion. You're absolutely entitled to it, and it should be heard. But maybe,
No,
maybe the way you worded it made me want to.
I'm going to interject. You don't have to respect all opinions. I always use a mechanic as an example. If there's something wrong with my car, you're entitled to an opinion as to what's wrong with it.
It's the flange.
Yeah, exactly. You're entitled to your opinion, but I'm not going to respect it. Your opinion is worthless to me. Some people's opinions are worth more than others.
Fair. So Bob says, of Poppy, because it was on the Poppy video, I really enjoyed Poppy. I thought it was good fun. Some people were trashing it.
No, I didn't like it.
Well, I like it. You like to listen to very good-looking women screaming and growling like hell? Arch enemy, handshake with hell. Alyssa is brutal and a beauty. If you want to hear the goddess of female vocals, you need Floor Jansen. Best one to start, Nightwish, Ghost Love Score, I've heard it.
She's fucking awful.
But be careful, she stole every soul she got. By the way, must see for unbelievable female vocalists, and then a little list. All completely female bands. Maybe start with band Maiden Hate. Now, again, like I say, Bob, your comment is valid. You're allowed to have your opinion, blah, blah, blah. I think for me, it was just like, no, that's not what I said in the video. I didn't say that I want to exclusively hear very good looking women or only women that are considered goddesses. In fact, quite the opposite. If someone said, and I call it the James Corden effect, because like when I see certain vocalists dependent, and it's genderless, when I see certain vocalists and people are like, oh my God, they're fucking amazing, I look at them and I go, okay, but if they look like James Corden, would they still feel the same way? And if the answer is no, then I'm like, well then I'm out. I want to have talent.
The sad part is, you know, we talk about, and actually we are going to be talking about women in the metal industry as one of our news stories.
Yes.
So maybe, is there another Metalhead after this? Or
I had a really short one. Okay, it's a bit silly.
Right. I was going to segue straight into it, but yeah, we'll come back to that then. So the thing for me, we've talked about it a lot in the podcast and just sort of in general. Metal is a very testosterone driven genre. It's heavily dominated by males in terms of being performers, but also in terms of listeners, people that go to gigs. Now, we don't have the time nor the energy to sit and discuss why that is or what that means. But what we can say is, to a lot of those people, it matters what the person looks like. And it doesn't matter if a male singer is ugly. It just doesn't matter to them. They don't care. But if Courtney LaPlante looked like Ricky Gervais having a wank... or a foot that's been punched, right? They are not going to give it the same level of attention that they give somebody that is attractive. But I'm not going to say more on that because this is going to come up. We'll talk about this a lot in that particular
I would say one
story.
thing before we move to the silly comment.
Go for it.
I've seen Nightwish several times now.
I'm very glad you didn't say you've seen Ricky Gervais having a wank.
I'd sooner die. But I've seen Nightwish a couple of times now, and some stuff that I didn't do on the channel that I've watched myself. And I will say this, of both of them, I would say that they're both very beautiful. And it is lovely to look at a beautiful woman. Even I enjoy looking at a beautiful woman. But I think both of them vocally are good, not great.
Yeah.
And people talk about them to me as if I will have my mind blown. I'll never understand singing again. I'll be a new person. And every time I've watched it, I'll be like, this is good. It's not great.
Well, I value the opinion of somebody that could come to me and talk about female metal singers and say, hey, Levi, you should check out this female singer from this band. She sounds amazing, but she looks like a foot. Like we can do in the soul scene, right? Nina Simone looks like a foot.
Bless her, but she's a talented bastard, so we don't mind.
She's fantastic. Yeah. She's got a great voice, a unique voice. She's a great piano player. And just because of these things, the rest of it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. But in metal, it seems to matter. Yeah. So if somebody wants to come to me and point out some of these female metal vocalists that look like a foot, then...
We'll circle back to it at some point. I think it was actually Frog that sent me a recommendation that I think I did do it on the channel, and it was a very beautiful black woman, and she wasn't particularly thin. She was a little bit chunky, and I thought she was really beautiful, but she was certainly not your traditionally good-looking Floor Jansen paper white, you know. She was fucking great. She was fantastic. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh.
I should be clear. I'm not saying that those examples don't exist, but you will see a direct correlation between the levels of success that these people experience in the music industry.
There's a reason I can't remember her name, because she's not mentioned to me all the time. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, give me a funny one.
I have one silly one, and it's not even that funny. It gave me a wee titter, because do you remember Imperial Triumphant?
I do, yes.
The worst band in the whole world, who I respect wholeheartedly. I do respect them. Frog and a couple others have sent me videos of other stuff they do, and they care deeply about what they do. But and I feel a little bit guilty, but someone commented on the Imperial video of me just being like, I hate it.
That's an old video.
I know.
Yeah.
And they said, they also laughed at Stravinsky once. And I was like, you're right, sir, they did. And I wasn't laughing at them, I was hating it. Oh dear.
Yeah, that's a funny comment, and of course very healthy that you can take a comment like that and respond to it with a good nature, charm. And you're just
God,
like,
yeah.
you know, but you can say things like that, and fans of the band don't get upset. I've said it so many times. Stop getting so upset when somebody doesn't like a thing you like. That's fine. It's totally fine.
Levi doesn't like most of the things I like.
Yeah.
He bought Penny Dreadful. If I'm going to call you out,
about that.
I'm going to call you out on the pod. He bought the entire seasons, so all the series of Penny Dreadful, which is a TV series that's very close to my heart, and he's watched like 3 episodes of it, and every time we watch it, he's on his phone the entire time, and it's clear that he wants to peel his own skin off like a tangerine and run out into traffic. And you know what?
But I take no objection to watching it because it makes you happy.
I know, but it's fine. It doesn't bother me that you don't like it, because I still fucking love it.
You want to do some news?
Yeah!
All right, here we go.
Okay.
Ghost, is it Frater Imperator?
Yeah,
adjusts to life away from the spotlight of the band in the band's latest lore drop. So this was the previous Papa, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So they're releasing content as though he's still a person, and how he is coping to life without the band. So, yes, this was just more
high drama. But you know the thing is, right?
Create a story. You don't just have to. Yeah. Ghost aren't for me, but I respect, like, they're trying to create a story.
That's fucking cool as shit.
Yeah.
But also, I want Tobias to shut his fucking mouth and stop being in interviews, because the more I see of him as a real person, the more I don't like him.
Yeah.
No, that's not true. He said a couple of things where I'm like, oh girl, shut your fucking mouth. Me and Birdseye were talking about it as well. Yeah, I like it. I love the grandiose presenting and revealing of things. I think it's so cool. If you're going to make art, make fucking art.
Yeah, because you can go and see a million bands who stand up and they're like, hey guys, we're going to play you our songs. But there is something undeniably cool about seeing a band like Ghost, where it's like, oh, you know, we're going to go and experience the story tonight. We're going to go and witness the show.
Because it's
like a musical or a play, or, you know, even something silly like a wrestling show. It's Speaking of tours that nobody should be going to, Marilyn Manson has announced US and European tour dates. I like the boldness of announcing a tour when you've been cancelled.
Oh, girl.
With the accusations that have come out against you. And they don't seem to have... Yeah, they've not even commented on that in the article. Marilyn Manson's just announced a whole slew of US and European tour dates in support of his latest record, One Assassination Under God, Chapter 1. Tour kicks off on August 7th at Buffalo Chip in Sturgis and wraps up later on November 30th. No support acts have yet been announced. Do people not remember?
I mean, they say the internet never forgets. I do think they do sometimes, or they just kind of don't care anymore. I think the thing with Marilyn Manson is it's like he was also a product of his time, much like Linkin Park. And whilst I don't think he had some like good tunes, I'm sure. I didn't really listen to him, if I'm honest.
We'll get there.
Oh god. But the thing is it so good that it needs a world tour? I don't know.
Yeah, he was a big deal.
Okay.
On the alternative scene, he was like one of the biggest on the actual the kind of goth alternative scene.
All I remember is that at one point he was married to Dita Von Teese.
He was.
And the girl from Scream, and I'm like, how did you, guy from the Wonder Years, manage to get some of the most beautiful women ever?
Yeah.
How?
So the top comment on this article is, remember when his former bandmates tried to help cancel him?
I don't know the full extent of the things he's been cancelled for. I know that he was it, oh God, are you going to look it up?
Keep talking.
Oh God. I know that there was some sexual assault allegations. Yeah. Oh God.
Sexual assault won't face charges. But yeah, there was abuse allegations from people as well. 4th sexual assault case. This was Marilyn Manson faces 4th sexual assault case. That was back in 2021. So,
okay, maybe a million years dungeon.
Yeah,
maybe a million years dungeon.
The thing with obviously alleged. I'm not stating that Marilyn Manson is a sex offender or anything like that. But he was in one of the biggest acts of an entire generation. Mm-hmm. At a time where the music industry was still relatively popping in terms of like record sales and the money that you could make from that, and what comes with that is power and influence. So I'm sure that there's not a single element of anything that people like Marilyn Manson, someone that's in that level of fame, they would never consider anything that they do to be untoward, sexual assaulty or anything like that. But it still went on. Because you are in a position of power and influence. So if you hit on somebody, if that power disparity is there, where they, not that you're, their boss or anything, but if they feel like, oh, this person's a superstar, I shouldn't say no to this person. Like, that's a power dynamic that shouldn't really exist. And this is the inevitable consequence of that. And I think that Marilyn Manson is not the only person who could easily have lots of accusations like that made against him. I just think it goes hand in hand with fame. I
think you're right. And absolute power corrupts, absolutely. And there's plenty of acts, certainly from that time, where I'm like, oh, there was no way that you were just rocking up here and not. I mean, that it took so long for anyone to turn around and go, that R. Kelly's a bit weird, does he know? Or fucking P. Diddy and all these fucking idiots. But it's just like, so, not depressing's the wrong word. It makes me both angry and depressed at the same time. But also, I mean, he's getting his comeuppance now. If he's
not really, if he's got a world tour.
A million years dungeon.
Yeah. The other weird thing about these things is, like, I can't imagine us putting on a show and it being well attended. I'll stop there. No, let's imagine we're doing a show, right? And it's a well-attended show. Okay. I can't imagine the mindset that you have to have, the lack of reality that you have to have somebody as part of your crew where it's their job to wander around in the audience and find people that you'd want to have sex with.
Kill me dead.
And that, as a role in bands like this, is just an accepted role. That's just it. Like, there's a guy, and if you're performing and you see somebody in the audience, you point to that person, and somebody that works for your crew will go and approach that person and say, do you want to meet the artist?
I heard some really horrifying things about Slipknot, actually.
Yeah.
Because of their masks. And they, some people were coming over to girls in the audience and being like, do you want to fucking suck off what's his face from the band? And it's just a roadie with one of their masks on. Yeah. And I'm not saying that, like,
absolute power.
It's just, and I don't know. It's hard as well because, like, who knows, like, the age of these people who are involved in these things compared to the people who are there, and the people involved as far as going and looking for girls and all that kind of stuff. It's all just really, really gross. And yeah, it's people who became musicians to be famous and to be rich and to be powerful. Become a fucking politician, you cuntitudinous fucktard.
Yeah, well, on the one hand, I hear what you're saying, but on the other hand, if Slipknot had done that, we wouldn't have those 3 great albums that they made and almost the 4th one.
All I'm saying is,
because it stops after that.
Sure, if something comes out about Jonathan Davis, I'm done. I'm done.
It will almost certainly be there because Korn are a huge deal, and the level of,
I like Jonathan Davis, though.
And I'm not saying that he's done anything wrong.
I know I'm already getting upset a minute.
Yeah, I'm not saying that he's done anything wrong. I just think that it's 2025. Mm-hmm. If we went back 20 years as a fly on the wall and looked at the situations, the way people conducted themselves then, I think we would look at it and go, oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is what it is. So, final story.
Yes.
Lizzie Hale and Christina Scabbia speak up on perception of women in metal. Hey, naked, show us what you got. So women rock. Quality writing here, of course. This is on. Anytime I read a bad article, I like to say where it is. This is on Ultimate Guitar. Women rock and metal are in a better position than ever before.
Just top tier.
Yeah, just
well done, Charles Dickens.
All it would take, sir, is like 1 second to proofread, and you'd
it's
go.
Also, we live in the age of AI and Grammarly. What the fuck are you doing if you can't write?
Yeah. You literally don't even need to write this.
You should, but
Yeah, so I'll try it again. So women, and I'm going to add in, women in rock and metal are in a better position than ever before. And while there are still people out there who irrationally dislike them, there's a far better scene than it used to be. Back in the day, women playing the harsher genres were derided as inferior or treated as a joke, even if they had a lot to offer, sometimes more than the men. I don't know that they were treated as a joke. I'd say novelty.
Sure.
We've talked about it before. Like, it's a female-fronted band. There's a novelty to that. Spotify recently hosted a Women in Metal roundtable featuring Hailstorm leader Lizzie Hale, Lacuna Coil vocalist Christina Scabbia, and Spirit Box frontwoman Courtney LaPlante. And it's interesting that they went with Lizzie and Christina and they didn't use Courtney's name in the...
Yeah, she's really big, surely.
Yeah, bigger than... Oh, well, Lizzie Hale's definitely very, very big, actually. Anyway, opened up on the past challenges, revealing she was often given ill advice to abandon her brother drummer, RJ Hale, as the rest of her and the rest of her band to begin a career in pop. Now, I think that's perfectly reasonable business advice. Lizzie Hale is the singer for Hailstorm. Her brother is the drummer. Mm-hmm. I think it's perfectly reasonable business advice to say you could be much more successful if you move this over to pop. That's an accurate statement. She probably would have been more successful if she moved over to pop.
It's also advice. You don't have to take it.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't take issue with somebody giving advice like that. Anyway, I fought very hard not to have a solo career despite everyone wanting me to. I remember being 16 in the clubs and all these men were like, lose your brother, lose the band, lose your buddies, you should be in pop. Why are you into metal? Why are you into hard rock? Because this music spoke to us. During the interview, Christina also recalled her own difficulties, noting that she'd received awful comments from some audience members. When I started with the band, it was at the end of the 90s, and there weren't so many metal bands with a female in the lineup. I remember that many times I was going on stage and there was always that guy that would be like, hey, naked, show us what you've got. Like, that's not language. Hey, naked, show us what you've got. Yeah. It was always interesting to see the change along with the set that I could convince that person at least to shut up and witness that I was able to do my job. I just like top comment on this one. Okay. So, remember when Christina was on the cover for Revolver's Hottest Chicks in Metal? Pepperidge Farm remembers.
I'm leaving. I'm done. I've had enough of this shit.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the thing. Do you want to go?
Go what? I'm leaving, yeah. It
No,
was you that was leaving.
Do you want to comment first?
No, you go.
It's very hard for me to see Christina in anything that is, let's be fair, pastel pink Instagram feminism, when essentially she built her career on the fact that she was a hot woman fronting a metal band. Now, I'm not saying she's wrong for doing that. And as I said the last time, whatever you have to do to compete, but you need to remember that as you go along and help other women up the ladder behind you. You don't kick the ladder out from behind you, continue to perpetuate a strange stereotype about yourself because it benefits you, and then do Instagram feminism to me, bitch. And it's also just the fact that, like, I really like Courtney LaPlante, for instance. I haven't heard Lizzie Hale before, and I do think that these sort of roundtable things are always interesting to watch, but also we're looking at three very good-looking women, all thin, all of at least white passing, and it's just like, I'm done with this kind of feminism. I'm done with it. And that's someone who did feminism for years. I know who Simone Beauvoir is, and I know real things, and I did real things for black, fat, poor women who wouldn't have been involved in the conversation. And when I see stuff like this, it fucks me off, because it's like, poor fucking you in your able-bodiedness. I'm so sorry you were sexualised, but what is it for the rest of us fucking troglodytes down the bottom. How bad do you think it is for us? How many times do you think I've been told, oh, Melissa, you're too fat for this, girl. You're ugly. You're fat, you're ugly. Oh, you're talented, but you'd be so much better if you just, shut up and let someone else play the instrument. Oh, you write music, you should let someone else write the music, and you should really give this up. Maybe you'd be better suited as like an event manager. Maybe you'd be better suited as just a manager. Like, don't give me your shit. I don't want your Instagram feminism. I don't want your round table. I don't want to hear about how hard it is for you to be really hot. I don't want to hear about it. It makes me a bad feminist, I'm sure. But you know what? I don't care. I'm sorry. It's been a rough week, and that was the wrong time.
You've done more than your fair share for feminism. You have written and run women in music courses at music schools. You ran Female Musicians Scotland. You have always gone out of your way to stand up for women on the music scene. Yeah.
Always. I started the first in the UK. I wrote and started the first women employability in the music industry course. And it was so good that they rolled it out across the UK. I never got any credit for it. They still use my material to this day. I accept that that's something that I had to sign off, because the fact is, in Scotland at least, the SQA, if you write something for the SQA and they agree with it, you do have to basically forfeit your right to be able to go, well, that's my material, I want it back. And that didn't bother me, because I was like, the greater good is for other women who look like me and don't look like me, i.e., women who are black, women who are Hispanic, women who are incredibly poor. Basically, women who are all on the bottom rung of things to be able to do it. Feminism's a weird one for me. I did put my time in across the board, and I see stuff like this, and I just think, Christina, God bless you, but shut your fucking hole. If you build your career on the back of it, you've got to do something in the end up. If I were in a position where tomorrow I could click my fingers and become the ideal look for like a band and become really famous off the back of it, would I do it? Absolutely. But you know what I'd do immediately after? I would be like one of those people who gets really, really rich being something awful and turns it into something amazing. Post Malone! I'd be Post Malone! I'd make money doing auto-tune garbage, and then I'd release a really heartfelt country album and buy the One Ring magic card off of someone. That's what I'd do.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The Women of Metal Roundtable, it ties in so nicely with what I was saying earlier. Like, I'm not interested in you three attractive women sitting around and telling me how hard you had it, because you know what? There's three unattractive women that aren't sitting at that table right now because they're unattractive women and they were unsuccessful because of it.
And you built the stereotype, girl. You built the stereotype, and that's not your fault. You live in an industry where looks are everything, and that's important to succeed. So it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility. No, actually, it's not your responsibility, but it is. But
you can choose to make it your responsibility.
You can absolutely choose to make it your responsibility. There's never been a point in my career where I've been given a position of power where I didn't go, actually, I would like to, and again, I should point out, the best person for the job is always the best person for the job. I'm not saying just hire women and whatever over everyone, and it doesn't matter. It does matter. But at the same time, there's never been a point where I'm like, you know what, no, I'm going to help someone up behind me. I'm going to help this person. There's songwriters and all kinds of people who work in education who message me to this day and go, I used to love your classes, Melissa, you were so inspiring. One of them's now a sound engineer. She was too afraid when she first came to one of my courses, and now she's a full-time sound engineer in London. And I'm like, you're welcome, bitch. Go forth. God damn. But don't sit around. Don't sit around. Instagram feminism? No, thank you. Mm-mm.
Okay. Would you like to move on to the main event?
Yes. I'm going to take a deep breath. I've switched from a tiny Pepsi to a giant bottle of water. Speaking
of, let's move on to the egomaniac who is ugly on the outside and in.
Oh, Fatty McFattenstein.
So, what can you tell me about Malmsteen?
I can tell you that he's a big fat... No, I'm kidding. I know he plays very fast.
Okay.
I know he's considered very much like god-tier guitarist by a lot of people. I know he plays Fender Stratocaster.
Had the first Fender signature.
Oh, he did?
Did, yeah.
Good for him. I know that he needs to stop dyeing his hair. But other than that, not very much.
Where does he fit in the timeline of things? What is his relevance? What sort of music does he play?
I'm going to say 80s,
But when in the 80s?
Like 83.
Spot on, yeah.
I think he does a lot of instrumental stuff.
He has a higher rate of instrumental stuff than many other guitar players, but he does a lot of vocal music.
And I know he does karate kicks on stage. I mean, I'll be honest, in my brain, timeline-wise, it's quite a squiffy one.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm saying 83 because I'm stabbing in the dark, but also if you said to me, no, it's 75, I'd be like, okay, fair. Because
sure.
I genuinely, I don't, because his music doesn't, anything I've heard of him doesn't feel stylistically shockingly that era. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. So I'll justify talking about Malmsteen today. It works because we've done Deep Purple, and Malmsteen is really like an evolution of Ritchie Blackmore. You could make the argument that we should have talked about Van Halen before Malmsteen, but there's no part of me that ever thinks of Van Halen as being a metal band, you know?
Sure.
But in terms of the evolution of guitar, you know, you have a few meteoric moments in guitar. Hendrix is obviously a big one.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, Hendrix is like 68, 69. That's the impact of the Hendrix thing.
Was it as early as that?
Yeah. And then the big one is always going to be Eddie Van Halen. So in terms of guitar technique, you can really split it into two categories. It's never pre and post Hendrix. It's pre and post Van Halen.
Okay.
There's pre-Van Halen knowledge of the instrument, and there's post-Van Halen knowledge of the instrument.
Do remember you, in conversations with people, I've heard you say stuff about it.
So Eddie Van Halen, incredibly important and influential, because it changed so much about how guitar players and people that were writing music, releasing music, what their approach or their vision of what it was possible to do on the instrument. So after Van Halen drops, suddenly guitar players, they really start practicing.
Sure.
And from 78 through to, you know, the late 80s, the growth in the technical ability of guitar players is truly astonishing. Malmsteen, I would argue, confidently argue, is the first name relevant after Eddie Van Halen.
Okay.
And we're talking about him on the podcast because his music is very much rooted in that heavy metal sound.
But he's very classically influenced?
He has the so I would describe him as neoclassical metal. So I was going to say, like, soul music as a genre actually isn't as long a history.
No.
Because it sort of came and then faded out, would be fair to say?
Yeah.
Soul music there's a point where you say, oh, soul music isn't really a thing anymore. You've got people like neo-soul, like people being influenced by soul music, but the soul music of the 60s doesn't still exist in terms of people, like, realistically playing that as a genre.
Well, there's some modern artists who do play,
But in like a commercially viable way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Metal, I think you can think of it more like jazz in terms of the subgenres. There's lots and lots of subgenres in jazz music. Yes, but neoclassical, because of course he brings in all of that classical influence. Lots of functional harmony, chord progressions that you would expect to hear in Bach's music.
Sure.
Which I guess would make it neo-baroque, but neoclassical is what everybody sits with on these. So, do you know where he's from?
No idea.
Okay. So he's a gentleman of Swedish heritage.
Swedish.
Yes.
We like the Swedes.
So Johan YNGWIE Lannebäck. And again, I don't speak foreign. This could be pronounced could be Janabak.
So rude.
Point is, his career, let's read about his career from the 80s. So, actually, I want to say this. A lot of people will be like, yeah, but why would you talk about Malmsteen like he's somehow relevant to wider metal? You could easily argue he's not. But for me, there was a big game changer. I was dating a girl when I was, 15, and I went to her house, and her mum was talking to me about guitar playing, and she said to me, my favourite guitar player is YNGWIE MALMSTEEN. And I was like, how do you know who that is? And she went over to her record collection and like pulled out some Malmsteen records, and she was like, I saw him when he opened up for AC/DC. He was the opening act for the AC/DC tour, and he was brilliant. And it just makes you sort of go, oh, yeah, he was actually doing two things. He was pushing technical boundaries, but he was also trying to make commercially viable music, hence, having a singer. Anyway, so let's read. So from the late 1970s, Malmsteen played in local bands, sometimes together with future Talisman bassist Marcel Jacob, Europe bassist Jean Leven, and architect Eero, who knows. They recorded various demos and a single for CBS Records, but nothing was officially released from this era until the 2002 releases of Rising Force Birth of the Sun and Malmsteen's own Genesis album. here's the important part. So in early 1982, Mike Varney of Shrapnel Records first heard Malmsteen's music through record store owner Bill Buckard, who played him a demo tape of Malmsteen's early work, likely the 1978 Powerhouse demo, recorded when YNGWIE was 15. Later in 82, Malmsteen sent to Varney an untitled demo recording as a submission from Varney's Guitar Player magazine column. Now, this is a legendary thing. The Guitar Player column that Mike Varney wrote for a long time. He used that as a way to find countless incredible guitar players from all over the world, and he had his own record label, Shrapnel Records, and he would find these young talents, and he would put out records with these young talents. So Malmsteen's really the first name, but after that you have guys like Vinnie Moore and Tony McAlpine and Paul Gilbert and Richie Kotzen. It just goes on and on and on. They all came through that Shrapnel thing, and for guys like myself, growing up, Shrapnel Records was like, that was our record label. That was like, if Shrapnel put something out, it's worth listening to.
Sure.
Really as simple as that. So very, 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 very cool. For whatever reason, my camera just decided it didn't want to stay looking at me. So let's bring me. So in 1983, Varney brought Malmsteen to the United States to play on the recording of Shrapnel recording artist Steeler, also featuring singer Ron Keel and bassist Rick Fox for its self-titled album. So he came over to the States to record for the band Steeler. So we're going to be starting out today with the band Steeler.
Okay.
Talking about Steeler. So they're not a big band by any stretch of the imagination. Just give you a little bit of information. Original lineup, Ron Keel. Essentially what happened is they put out this first album. There were major personality clashes between Malmsteen and everyone else in the band. Because of course, because Malmsteen.
Yeah.
In fact, actually, I think this is in here. Let's have a look. Hang on.
See, that's the weird thing. Of all the things I do know about him, I also do know from several people saying that he's a nightmare.
Yes.
Like, that's something that comes along with not knowing who he is. When someone says, "Oh, what do you know about him?" Most people all know that he's a nightmare.
For me, it's like you were young, 17, 18, living in Sweden, and somebody flew you over to America, a record label, to make music. They put you in a band and were like, right, we're going to make something of this. And you had the ego to be like, I'm better than everyone in this band. They're not to my standards. At that age, like, to me, that's such a strong indication that there was something wrong with you as a human. There's something wrong with your person. That's like a personality disorder where you think you're that hot shit. Now, of course, I'm not a fan of him as a person, but I respect everything he's done so much. And for me, he's such a great example of people like to throw around the word arrogant. To me, arrogant isn't always the case if you are as good as you think you are. And Malmsteen actually is as good as he thinks he is, which makes it so much more annoying, doesn't it? When somebody's very arrogant about their abilities, but they can back it up.
Yes and no. Because like there's artists who are definitely like, Prince was quite arrogant. Like, Prince would sit there in interviews and he'd be like, "Yep, well, I'm just a really fantastic songwriter. Yeah, what do you want?" And I always found it very endearing because he was always on fire in all of these interviews. Yeah. But
So there was a review published for the album in Bernard Doe for Metal Forces wrote, "Not a classic album by any means. In fact, if it wasn't for YNGWIE's talents, then this would just be plain average. But buy this album, as it will surely become a collector's item in the years to come when Malmsteen is recognised as one of the world's greatest all-time heavy metal guitarists."
Wow.
So that was something that was written at the time, which is, yeah. So, you want to check this out?
Buckle up, Sandra.
What I think would be handy for this is on your notes on your phone, write down the name of the vocalist and then just sort of give them a score.
Okay.
Because I want to have a tier list.
Sure.
Of Malmsteen vocalists. Because all in all, we're looking at, I think I said 11 tracks. So we're going to listen to a song called Cold Day in Hell. Now this is, like I say, Ron Keel on vocals.
Ron Keel.
Yeah.
Okay, Ron, hit me.
So Cold Day in Hell.
Okay.
Okay. So what do you think about the vocals? Or what do you think about the... Talk to me about the music.
I actually really enjoyed that song.
Okay.
I thought it was cool. I think there was a lick at the start there that YNGWIE did that I thought was great. Like, really good. If a guitarist did that, if I saw that live, I'd be like, fucking hell, that's good. Oh, Ron Keel. Oh, Ron Keel, you're one of life's chancers. Yeah, he's got really not very nice timbre. He's pulling chests so hard to get up into the higher reaches. But it's, unfortunately, he sounds like very early Justin Hawkins when he had no technique and he was high on smack, just trying to pull chest. And it's not nice to listen to. Ron Keel gets a 3 for effort.
Okay.
I'm doing it out of 10 now.
Yeah, but, that guitar solo happens and it's just immediately like, oh, okay, there's something here.
Yes, and I would also say, I don't want to say respect to YNGWIE. I really don't. Am I saying it right? YNGWIE, yeah. He was more talented than some of the people in the room.
No, of course. Of course. No, he really, really was. And we're talking about this in 2025. Yeah, this album came out in 1983. Mm-hmm. So it's hard. This is before both of us were born. Sure. And we have 40 plus years of music that's happened since then. Evolution of music that's happened since then. So now you've heard lots of guitar players that play like that and can play faster than that. Yeah. But at the time, it really is contextually important to consider what had happened before and what it would have been like to hear something like that. Definitely, made his mark.
Yeah, good song. I like the song.
From there, he obviously didn't get on with the band, so he left almost right away after the album was recorded to go and join a band called Alcatraz. Now, Alcatraz was a band formed in 1983 by Graham Bonnet.
Graham Bonnet!
Graham Bonnet.
Le Graham Bonnet!
Yeah, so you already know his vocals.
Yes.
Yeah. They're notable as a band for featuring a previously unknown YNGWIE MALMSTEEN as their lead guitarist for a year, who was then replaced by Steve Vai, with whom they recorded just one album as well. So they're actually a really, I don't want to say relevant, but they have a split now. So 2 Alcatraz bands exist: Graham Bonnet's lineup and the Waldo She lineup, and they both tour.
The what now? The Waldo She?
Yeah, the other guys that are
in
the band, Jimmy Waldo and Gary She.
Ah, I see.
The band's initial lineup consisted of former Rainbow singer Graham Bonnet and Malmsteen, who had recently left the American metal band Steeler. She and Waldo from New England and Clive Burr of Iron Maiden fame. Burr was reportedly only in the band for a week, left upon discovering the band was going to be based in the United States as opposed to his native England. The band's debut album, No Parole for Rock and Roll, was released in late 83 on Roshire Records. Title. No Parole from Rock and Roll. A decent support was given by MTV to the lead single, Island in the Sun, which showed a heavy Rainbow influence. Despite the commercial nature of the song, it received little radio play. The album nonetheless spent 18 weeks on the Billboard charts. A second video released in 1984 for Hiroshima Mon Amour became popular in Japan. I want to see about Malmsteen leaving. So during this period, internal turmoil began surfacing within the band between Malmsteen and Bonnet. According to Malmsteen, Bonnet had become fed up with the attention drawn to his guitar playing from fans over Bonnet's vocals. According to Malmsteen, their professional relationship ended with the two having an altercation on stage after Bonnet allegedly tampered with Malmsteen's amplifiers during a guitar solo. And since you've been gone, that doesn't really make sense, but that's how it's written. This resulted in Malmsteen yelling at and arguing with Bonnet poking Malmsteen in the stomach with his microphone stand, and finally with Malmsteen punching Bonnet, all taking place on stage. Following this, Malmsteen left Alcatraz and created his own band called Rising Force, who signed with Polydor Records.
I would pay so much money to see that. So much money.
Yeah. So we're going to listen to Jet to Jet from the Alcatraz
Jet to Jet.
album.
And this is Graham Bonnet.
This is Graham Bonnet, yeah.
Graham Bonnet.
And we'll inevitably revisit Alcatraz so you can hear Vi with them, but they sound like a different band, of course. So, yeah, when listening to this, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on if there's any sort of change in direction, production. Can you hear Malmsteen's, instantly recognisable sound that he brings to things, etc.? Here we go.
This is American produced.
Say again?
This is American produced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of these are.
We have organ.
On a short trip we made a landing, then we were strangers in town. How they scared as we made our exit. Where was Darryl Brown? Dr. Livingston, where are you? When we need you the most. When what is ivory on the Ivory Coast?
High as fuck.
Jet into jet. Eat their poison like true ambassadors. We will drink up their beer. So predictable, washed out white man foreigners are here. Call me master, I call you boy. If that's all that you need, how them wounds be so meet me here to bleed. Jet into jet.
Now, before you do vocals, his fucking guitar playing is just so good. He plays with such a fire. It's like you can hear excitement in his playing. I think he has some of the best vibrato in the business. Some of those big slides up to bends sound like a vocalist doing like the...
I was going to say one of them did sound like it. I thought it was Graham Bonnet.
Yeah.
It all sounds very much better put together than Steeler. It sounds very it's better produced, it's better mixed. It sounds more like the choices, and again we didn't hear a lot of Steeler, so I don't know about the influences for YNGWIE.
So Cold Day in Hell is a Rick Keel penned tune. There's only one tune on that album that was co-written by Malmsteen.
Okay, so Malmsteen's playing feels more classical based now than in Steeler. It felt very much like what we're used to.
It was a rock song that he played on.
Yeah. Whereas this feels very much like, oh no, this was classical elements and like that big bit in the middle that was like do 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 do. There was some organ in the background. It felt much faster. It just felt like altogether a more balanced track.
And if people wanted to make the argument that this isn't heavy metal, this is like hard rock, yeah, I see where you're coming from.
Sure. There's definitely the tone of the rhythm guitar is definitely one that I feel like I've heard a lot of from very American produced bands.
Does this remind you influence-wise of any of the other things that we've listened to on the podcast though? Like, can you see where this has come from is what I'm asking.
So what year is this?
This is 83.
I definitely think there's Iron Maiden elements in there, a tiny bit. I feel like it's hard because like I don't want to tar every singer who chooses to sing higher with Judas Priest, but at the same time, Graham Bonnet was singing fucking crazy high there, and you could tell that it was not effortless, but he was easily up there, and handling it like a pro.
I think you're missing the obvious. So who did Graham Bonnet sing with before this?
Oh, Rainbow.
Yeah, and who was the guitarist in Rainbow?
Oh, Richie Blackmore.
And what was his band before that?
Deep Purple. I hate that I know all of this.
But it's, yeah, you're demonstrating good knowledge on that. When I ask the questions, you know the answers to it. And to me, Alcatraz sound like a jumped up version of Deep Purple, and to a slightly lesser degree, Rainbow, because Ritchie Blackmore was Malmsteen's hero. He dressed like Ritchie Blackmore. He plays a Strat like Ritchie Blackmore. Ritchie Blackmore scalloped his frets. Malmsteen took deeper scallops to his frets. Obviously, Malmsteen's playing is Ritchie Blackmore with everything turned up to 10.
Sure.
Because he's a far superior guitar player. You can, if you want to in the comments tell me that he's not as good a songwriter, that's fine. I'm not going to argue with you on that one. I didn't say he was a better songwriter.
Lots of people are a better songwriter than Ritchie Blackmore.
No, but Malmsteen, if you want to say Ritchie Blackmore was a better songwriter than Malmsteen,
see.
I wouldn't argue with you on that. That's perfectly fine. But in terms of like guitar playing prowess, Malmsteen he's great. He really is. Like you can't listen to him and say anything other than, oh wow, he can really play.
Yeah.
And you have to, I think, when you hear this in the metal thing, you have to hear that and go, huh. Imagine how a 14-year-old boy that played guitar would react when he heard that.
Sure.
Like he is going to go and practice his ass off.
Yeah.
So the influence that Malmsteen had would absolutely have been huge. Unfortunately, the only thing bigger than his guitar playing was his ego.
Of course.
So he left Alcatraz, as we know, and he went off and did his own thing. So he did. It was initially a band. It was the band was called Rising Force. But over time, it just sort of became Yngwie Malmsteen's Rising Force, and it was considered a solo album,
like Ritchie Blackmore's Rainbow,
or Ozzy Osbourne's band Blizzard of Oz, which just became Ozzy Osbourne. Rising Force is the first studio album by guitarist Yngwie Malmsteen, released in late '84 through Polydor Records. What was your score for Graham Bonnet?
I gave Graham Bonnet a 9.
That's pretty solid.
Because it's fabulous. Like there's a lot of singers who try and do that very high Judas Priesty, like Rob Halford style of singing, and a lot of them can't pull it off, and it's not because they maybe don't have the technique, but also you have to have tone to get up there, so that when you do get up there, the sound is rich, it's a circle, it's not just this shrieking noise. And I do think Graham Bonnet's got wonderful timbre.
What I thought listening to his vocals on that it reminded me just how old this recording is, because obviously it's not fabulously recorded.
No.
And obviously there's no pitch correction on there. And there's lots of parts in there where I'm like, oh, you're really shaky on that. You are pushing yourself to your absolute limit of what you are capable of doing, and you're not quite there with it. But there's a raw, like, honest aspect to that, and it's kind of cool.
Yeah, he was definitely, like, towards the end of that when he got up to the crazy high part, he's getting to that's why I was like, it's not effortless. He's getting to the upper echelons of his actual range, but he sounds like he's handling it pretty well.
So, back to Rising Force. So this was originally planned as an instrumental side project for his then current band Alcatraz, but due to singer Jeff Scott Soto's appearance on the album, Malmsteen opted to release it as a solo album. Now, Jeff Scott Soto only sings on like 3 tunes. I think it's 3 tunes on the album. It received a nomination for Best Rock Instrumental Performance at the 86 Grammy Awards. The album is regarded as a landmark release in the shred and neo-classical metal genres. So, definitely a well-regarded album. So Jeff Scott Soto is the next singer, Jeff Scott Soto. Great vocalist, really, really great vocalist. I would have preferred to have taken one of the tracks from the second album that he did with Malmsteen called Marching Out, but that one's not on Spotify.
Ah, okay, so, wow.
Yeah, don't know why, but that one's not on Spotify. So we're going to listen to... I went with As Above, So Below.
Okay.
I think Now Your Ships Are Burned would probably be the vocal track that people would think of from this album as a bit of an iconic track, but I think the vocals are better on this.
Okay.
So, yeah, this is As Above, So Below from Yngwie Malmsteen's Rising Force album. Sounds like this.
Jesus.
Oh, yeah, and there's about 30 seconds more at the start.
This is just Yngwie.
It's Jens here, Hansen.
No, it's not. It's Yngwie in the basement of KFC.
No, he's running around in his pants, stroking his thighs.
Come a chameleon.
I love his guitar tone.
Sure.
I will never die, as I will fly to the other side.
That's double, doesn't it?
That synth behind it is horrible though.
A bit Mario.
Get the idea.
What is this 8-bit thing they had behind
Yeah, I listened to it and I'd never noticed it before, but like being able to hear it very clearly, it's like, oh, that's a questionable, like a synthy tone rather than you'd expect like a more, like an organy sound or maybe like a harpsichord sound, which is what he would go with. But yeah, like a real bit crushed.
Yeah, really. I like that one less.
Okay.
Although I love the theatrics of having full fucking harpsichord style organy thing at the start, which is fully. YNGWIE MALMSTEEN is the Phantom of the Opera, but he's the Phantom of the KFC. He's the
Phantom of the KFC.
He's in the bowels of KFC with a chicken grease burn on his face.
How do we feel about Jeff Scott Soto though?
I think he's good.
Uh-huh.
I think his top end is a little bit thin. His timber's not anything to write home about, but I still think he's a good singer.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to give him like a solid 7.
I feel that, for me, I could be totally wrong on this, Jeff Scott Soto feels like he has a lot more technique to what he's doing. Yeah. Whereas Graham Bonnet feels more like he's just going for it. So
that's what I should say. With the marks I'm giving, I mean, I do think I was right giving Ron Keel a 3, but so no technique there. But yeah, it's not always based on technique. Sometimes you hear singers and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah, sometimes a singer has bad technique, but you still like want to listen to them. I want to listen to Ozzy Osbourne. Yeah, he has terrible technique.
Christina Aguilera has the worst technique I've ever seen a singer who's lasted as long as she has. Do I still want to hear her sing? Yes, absolutely.
So Jeff did a couple of albums, Marching Out and the Rising Force album. You know, they're cool, but next comes Trilogy. Now, Jeff and Malmsteen do not have a good working relationship. Lots of beef there. Trilogy is my favourite Malmsteen album. Mm-hmm. Trilogy is the first studio album by Malmsteen to feature lead singer Mark Bowles, who briefly replaced Jeff Scott Soto after his departure from Malmsteen's band in 1985. However, Soto was again the lead singer during the album's supporting tour between 86 and 87. So, you know, doesn't that just scream of you got into a massive fight, you left, then Malmsteen got somebody else to record the vocals, and then suddenly you're like, oh, I'd like to maybe come back. You kick poor Mark Bowles out, and then again you're briefly there for a couple of years before you fuck off somewhere else. Iconic album cover for me.
It's
he's got a Strat in his hand.
Oh, okay, I was literally about to be like, who is this woman? Is she Sarah Connor? It's like,
yeah, no, that's Malmsteen, because that's what he would wear on stage, and he'd do silly poses like that.
Sarah Connor, yes. Yeah, this cover is fucking stupid.
I love it.
I love that for you.
Yeah. We're going to listen to the track Liar off of this album.
Okay,
there are a
Mark
lot
Bowles?
of this is Mark Bowles. Yeah, there's a lot of great songs on this album.
This is not one of them.
No, I think that this is. There's a lot of very commercial tracks on this album. Okay. Like Heaven Tonight is on this album. Uh-huh. Queen Is in Love is on this album, and they are very sickly sweet. Mm-hmm. Whereas Liar still has a lot of that rock attitude. For anyone watching, my pick would be Magic Mirror off of this album. This is a cool one because Malmsteen's detuned. He's in drop D flat for that, which you don't hear in play detuned very often. So that's a really cool one, but vocally it's not all that cool. Right. So Liar, we're going to go with Liar.
Cool.
So, ready?
Yep.
That's the Malmsteen sound. And there's no rock about this. This is heavy metal now, right?
The drums
very metal. A lot of distortion on that.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Very clipped. Neoclassical.
Yeah.
For a young Levi or for a young David?
Oh, David fucking loved him.
We'll stop there. Alright, thoughts on Liar?
I really like that one. YNGWIE Malmsteen plays as though he is going to be shot at the end of his solo.
Yeah, like he's desperately running out of time.
Like he's like, oh my god,
I need to
this
get
is
it
my
all in.
last time.
Yeah, I need to get it all in.
I think that Mark Bowles is fantastic.
Okay.
I don't think he's better than Graham Bonet for panache, but he's got like a really wonderful timbre. And he's got a little bit of that Dio vibrato as well, which I'm always into.
I in all honesty, I feel that you've given Graham Bonet way too high a score.
Do you think?
It's obviously for me.
I'm gonna drop Graham down to an 8.
Yeah, for me like I say,
fair.
Graham has a very unrefined characteristic to what he does, and it's like you could take those performances, you could add a little bit of tuning to them, or obviously get him to record until you got the perfect takes, and I think they would be better. But everyone else, well, Jeff Scott Soto and Mark Bowles, we'll ignore Ron Keel.
Ron Keel was dreadful.
These guys, they're singers. These guys have technique. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to give Mark Bowles an 8. I don't think technique's everything.
Sure.
And I do think technique's really important. But there's just some singers out here who don't necessarily. Bon Scott had no fucking technique, but was wonderful to listen to. So yeah, but Mark Bowles definitely, he's got some chops, and he's got that lovely vibrato. I enjoyed that one. That was cool.
When I listen to these things, to me, it's like I was really into this stuff when I was younger, and I love the guitar solos. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to say that the guitar solos mean more to me than the songs, but evidently they don't, because I've never thought to myself, I wish these albums were just instrumental, and actually the instrumentals on them I'm not actually that into. Mm-hmm. And as you know, I'm somebody that's into songs. I want to have a vocalist on things.
Same.
Even if that vocalist apparently is different on virtually every fucking album.
Yeah, he really did go through singers, didn't he?
But so this is if you look at the list of singers, these are singers that he worked with in this.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of them. Maybe because he's very difficult to work with. I would also say with Trilogy, that album that we listened to, production is peak.
Yeah.
The production is great. The production stays there for a while, but it actually declines massively as it goes on. As spoilers, as he starts producing his own records.
Oh, God.
It gets pretty bad. So we're going to move on to the Odyssey album. The Odyssey album features Jolyn Turner on vocals.
Yay! We like
so
Jolyn
you remember
Turner.
Jolyn Turner. Steve Huey at AllMusic gave Odyssey 2 stars out of 5, calling it a more subdued, polished collection, seemingly designed for mainstream radio play. But it shows little difference in approach from Malmsteen's previous output. He praised Jolyn Turner's vocals and Malmsteen's guitar work, but remarked that the latter sounds constrained and passionless due to, in part, his recovery from a near-fatal car accident in 1987.
Oofed.
So, yeah. The track I have picked I really wanted to pick Rising Force because it's like my favourite Malmsteen tune. But I've gone with Deja Vu.
You know that I can't get over you.
So this is Jolyn Turner. You like his voice, don't you?
Yeah. Wade.
Deja vu, dreams come true. I see myself inside of you. Deja vu, so many lies, familiar spirits being between worlds through windows of light, with open arms we hold back the night. The crystal of power we hold in our hands. Go on forever, and love is the plan. Do you know the way? Do you understand? Deja vu, dreams come true. I see myself inside of you. Deja vu, so many lies, familiar spirits, fading
I want to stop there.
Jesus.
Because once you've heard one Malmsteen solo, you've heard, well, I was going to say once you've heard one Malmsteen solo, once you've heard one Malmsteen album, you've kind of heard all of the Malmsteen albums. Production-wise, a lot of bass in that album. I don't mean bass guitar, I mean like low end in the recording. It's very muddy in the low end.
Yeah, because the kick drum was very like... Yeah.
But how's Jolyn Turner's voice?
Jolyn Turner, you fucking beautiful bastard. Yeah, Jolyn Turner's got this very wide timbre, wide articulation, so that everything is quite punchy. And it just sounds fucking great. It's just shit you can't teach, unfortunately. Because yeah, he's got his vibrato's quite subtle. I think Jolyn Turner's not got, compared to the others, I should say. But again, he's just got this wonderful, like, bass, heavy, wide, lovely, rich timbre.
So how do you rate him?
Gonna give him a 9. Huh?
So he's your favourite of the Malmsteen singers?
Yeah.
Cool. From there, we're going to move on to the album Eclipse. So for Eclipse, we have Goran Edman on vocals.
What a great name, Goran Edman.
Now, I don't know this vocalist from anything, so I've gone to his Wikipedia, and under his discography, check this, right? He was with the band Madison, John Norum, YNGWIE MALMSTEEN, Glory, Brazen Abbott, Street Talk, Snake Charmer, Johansson, Rheingold, Karma, Nicolo Kotzev, Benny Hansen. That's car mechanics, but with a really wild spelling, which I appreciate. Crossfade, Xavier, Richard Anderson, Time Requiem, Coroner Edmund, Jace Landberg, Vindictive, Signal Regis, Jeff, Stratosphere, Dockers Guild, Marin, Covered Cool, Headless, the senior management, and he's done all these guest appearances.
Wow.
So that is somebody with a fucking extensive discography, but he has essentially no Wikipedia page.
Wow.
So yeah.
That's, I mean, it's a shame because like he obviously has worked on a hell of a lot of shit. Also, my phone has corrected his name to Grown Demanded. So that's how he shall be known going forth.
So Steve Huey at AllMusic gave Eclipse 3.5 stars out of 5, describing it as sounding like a holding pattern. Malmsteen turns in a competent set of neoclassical rockers that achieve radio-ready status better than much of the material on Odyssey, but there isn't anything that sounds new here.
I would say one more thing before we quickly move
Go for
on. The lyricism in Deja Vu was pish. That is all, thank you.
How did you feel about the lyrics in Liar? Can you remember them? That felt like a grudge song.
Yeah.
That felt like Malmsteen had somebody maybe tried or demanded writing credit from him or something like that.
I mean, also the fact that the song that we're now going to listen to is called Judas. Yeah. I can fully see that stupid fat bastard just be like, Judas! You didn't pray for me on the Lord's day, which is my day.
So this is Judas from Eclipse.
What a bizarre note to go to.
So for everything up to this point, I've always seen it through to the guitar solo, but I'm going to drop that now, so we're not here all day. But
what a bizarre note to go to at the end of the fucking chorus. That's mental. He's fucking Grown Demanded is too far back in the mix of that.
He is, yeah.
Sweet Jesus.
Yeah.
There's points where it's like, oh, yep, you've just been drowned out there, mate. Never mind, your contribution was well thought of. Yeah, he sounds good. For what I could hear, he sounds good. He also threw in some like melisma licks where I'm like, oh, beg your pardon. Yeah, good from what I could hear. Which
bad mix.
Bad fucking mix.
I'm telling you, they only get worse from here.
Oh, Christ.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to give Grown Demanded a 7.
Uh-huh.
He sounded good. He sounded like he had some chops. And, you know, the note that they gave him for the end of the chorus was just a wild decision. I support it, and he handled it gracefully.
We are going to jump to Seventh Sign now. Now, Seventh Sign, quite popular, reached number 11 on the Swedish albums chart, number 47 on the Swiss albums chart. Guitar World placed it number 46 on their super unknown 50 iconic albums that defined 1994. Steve Huey at AllMusic gave Seventh Sign 3 out of 5 stars, saying that Malmsteen's extensive use of wah pedal in the style of Jimi Hendrix makes the album necessary for Malmsteen fans, even though his more neoclassical work, solos and instrumentals, etc., seem less inspired here. He also heavily criticised the power ballad Prisoner of Your Love, calling it downright embarrassing.
Damn!
And the vocalist on this is Michael Vasera. Michael.
Michael.
Again, I'm looking through his list of credits. Obsession, Theatre, Loudness, YNGWIE MALMSTEEN, The Mike Viscera Project, Roland Grapow, Killing Machine, Dr. Sin, The Reign of Terror, Palace of Black, Safe Heaven, Dr. Sin, Obsession, Stygia, Obsession again. Yeah, lots of bands.
Damn.
Worked with lots and lots of bands.
Oh no, it says Kiko Schreider.
You just see the word Kiko, you're like, oh, it must be Kiko Laduro.
Disney Super Guitar.
He is on the Disney Super Guitar album, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So yes, on this track, on this album, we're going to just listen to Seventh Sign.
Okay.
Sounds like this. He needs to show you that he's a genius.
Of course. Natch.
It's just mud in the production.
It's so much. That crash is so prominent. The fact that the last line before you press pause was the blind leading the blind was absolutely correct. Fuck a luck a ding dong. That was mixed by someone who had boxing gloves on and earmuffs. Not good. Not even a little bit good.
No.
Also, Michael Visceral. Bless you.
I don't mind his vocals.
Yeah, well, I was going to say.
He's got like a lot of score
he's going,
in it, right?
wah, wah, wah. When you're changing every single, like every word, you're putting a W in the word so you can go up into that stupid fucking no Michael Visceral, enough.
So that sounds like he gets quite a bad score.
No, because he still had a good voice. Yeah. He's getting a 5.
Okay. After that, we're going to jump to the album Facing the Animal. This has a guy named Mats Levin on vocals.
Mats Levin, yeah.
I know his vocals because he was the vocalist for a period in the band Advance.
I thought you were going to be like, I know his dad.
No. He sang in the band Advance, who I quite enjoy.
Uh-huh.
Not my favourite vocalist that sang in Advance, but yeah, again, just a whole host of bands that he played with. He was with Candlemass for a while. He filled in with Firewind. So it seems that like being a session singer in metal vocals, power metal influenced vocals, is definitely viable, or was viable during that period. And we are going to be listening to the song Braveheart, but I just want to get to it on Wikipedia so you can know a little bit more about it. Facing the Animal. So
who's this on the front cover? Who is this on the front cover?
That's Fatstein.
Go on.
Yeah. Got to suck it in. He doesn't like donuts, man. Yeah. Although credited to Malmsteen, Air on a Theme is an arrangement of the second movement of Antonio Vivaldi's Piccolo Concerto in C major. So, taking stuff from other people. It features 1 one of drummer Cozy Powell's last performances before his death. There's nothing really to say about this album, to be completely honest. They've not even given like a decent okay. So Stephen Thomas Erlewine gave Facing the Animal 3 out of 5, saying that much of the record is stronger than anything Malmsteen has recorded in years, but also calling it predictable from the rockers to the power ballads.
Okay.
So Matt Slevin singing, we're going with Braveheart, because I know Braveheart was a hero of yours, right?
Chris, not a word.
Very metal now, right?
Yeah.
Just too much bass and everything.
Yeah.
That's not how you make something heavy. Just rack up the bass.
No.
But the vocals are more present. Matt Slevin.
Yeah, good. Actually, really lovely natural distortion in Matt's voice that I quite liked. Nothing like pure devastating, so maybe like a 7.
It's unfortunate because I think some of these vocalists are great, but the material they get to sing on is shit.
Here's the issue. That is definitely a thing. If you're working with, and I've done it before, where you've worked with people who give you your melody and give you your phrasing, it doesn't matter how good your singer is. If your songwriter's not actually that great at writing melody.
Yeah, but the production is just like
such dog shit.
Back in the day, the thing that was really cool about Malmsteen's sounds when he recorded things, he obviously plays the Stratocaster single coil pickups. They're very bright and trebly.
Sure. And
then all this is just bass.
Yes.
It's just muddy bass. And it's like, that's not how you make something sound heavy.
Yeah, and the snare sounded like garbage. Garbage. There, I said it.
Okay, we're going to move on to the album Attack from 2000.
What in the Microsoft Paint is this?
Terrible cover.
What is this?
Yeah. 3 different fonts.
Yeah. And also just a droopy eye. Yeah. That's obviously Malmsteen's eye.
I don't know that it is.
Well, somebody needs to get an eyelash curler because this is just all awful. I hate it.
Yeah. To me, it's the 3 different fonts on there that's offensive. Yeah. It's like, what? It's just... so Attack, 14th studio album by Malmsteen, October 2002. Album's the first to feature singer Dougie White.
Dougie White! Giselle!
We're going to be listening to the album, from the track Attack from the album Attack.
Okay.
You can at least hear it. The production's a little bit better.
The bass tone is so dog shit. I didn't like that song, not even a little bit. But, you know, Doogie sounded great. I don't think he sounded as good as he should have sounded, because the mix was bad anyway. But he gets 7, but he gets another one for being Scottish. So he gets an 8.
So Doogie White is as good as Mark Bowles, you crazy bitch.
Actually, you're right. Take that down. Sorry, Doogie. Doogie.
Almost there. We're almost there. So next up we have Damnation Game from the album Perpetual Flame. How do you feel about the cover for this?
I think this looks like a bargain basement masturbatory aid for fucking 60-year-old women who read stories about pirates. It's fucking garbage. I think YNGWIE's biggest issue in his career, as someone who is not successful, I would say, is that he thinks he's the smartest person in the room at all times. And the problem with thinking you're the smartest person in the room at all times is that your records end up sounding like dog shit.
Yeah. This features Ripper Owens, Tim Ripper Owens.
Tim Ripper Owens.
Of ex-Judas Priest fame and Iced Earth. So he's a great vocalist.
He's one of
the all-time great metal vocalists.
Okay.
But unfortunately, he's singing on a Malmsteen album in 2008. So you get what you get.
Oh, Christ. Damn it, Tim.
This is Damnation Game.
I keep on searching, never seem to find what I need. Just like a dream. The Europeans, we have to fight. I had the choice, they made me wise, and now I will fall into the night. Now you must roll the dice and meet your own demise. European, it always lies.
Too much bass again.
Too much bass. Yeah, he's great. He's great. I think I'll give Tim an 8, but I'm also going to drop Doogie back down to a 6. Sorry, Doogie. The more I think about it...
By the end of this, Doogie's going to be a 4.
No, listen. If at any given day you can look yourself in the mirror and go, at least I'm not as bad as Ron Keel, you know you did well.
Well, you know, to finish this shit sandwich off, on the album Parabellum, Malmsteen sings all the tracks. So
holy hell.
You might be bumping Ron Keel up in a second.
Right, okay. Fatty's up next. Oh, God.
So yeah, this is
Where's the album cover for this, sorry?
It's not even on Wikipedia.
Oh, okay. So, just so we're clear, Malmsteen thinks he looks like a weird crossover of Steve Tyler and Johnny Depp. When in actual fact, he looks like that weird uncle. Honestly, the pouting, come on, man.
Yeah.
You've got black candy floss for hair and you're pouting. Steven Seagal is asking you for tips on how to condition and you're ignoring all of them. I can't.
Okay, ready?
Yes.
This
better be good.
It's so much better than you think. So Lawrence Lanabach is the drum machine programmed by Malmsteen himself on this. So he programmed the drum machine.
Right.
I assume played bass because he plays bass on most of these records.
Okay.
Plays guitar.
Okay.
Probably played keyboards.
Right.
And is singing. So this is a 100% solo outfit.
Fantastic.
Look how they massacred my boy. How he massacred himself. It's out of time as well. It's all out of time. And auto-tune to fuck.
Yeah, so
It's so painfully obvious. It's little things that you don't think you realise until you've studied this stuff for as long as we have. But vocals are never that in tune with each other.
No.
Harmonies don't sound like that when singers do them.
No, they don't.
But when you snap them to pitch, they sound exactly like that.
Yeah, it's a giant three-headed Frankenstein, and I think that Malmsteen is incredibly talented, and some of his
Malmsteen was incredibly talented.
Sure, and some of his early solos, they sounded so feverishly wonderful. And as someone who doesn't enjoy listening to long guitar solos because I fucking heard it, even I think they're great, and that's not something I say lightly. Levi will tell you. But the vocals were what I would expect of someone who believes himself to be the smartest person in the room. They were brutally uninspired. They've no tone to them, no technique, and they've been tuned. And it's like, cool, well, you're right. You've not had to hire anyone that you think is not as talented as you. But again, you've just ended up with a big massacre of a song. And the lyrics were dog shit. Can't you foresee me and see it as see me? Like, fuck off. Like, don't be if you are the smartest person in the room, you better find some smarter people to hang out with. Because it's...
So how does you rate him?
I'm giving... At least Ron Keel had more panache. Fatty gets a 2. And he only really gets one of those for Moxie.
There's a lot of people who have described Malmsteen as a deuce over the years, so... he's
a big tolly.
He's the pinnacle of a number 2.
He's a big tolly. Very talented. I enjoyed some of the earlier stuff. I think the Jolene Turner stuff was fantastic.
So Malmsteen's best vocalist you have as...
Jolene Turner.
Yeah.
Followed by Graham Bonet and Mark Bowles.
Yeah. With high ranking for Jeff Scott Soto.
Yeah. Ron Keel, bin. Michael Visceral, marginal bin.
Poor Dougie White. Just keeps getting knocked. Shouldn't you knock him down to a 5 at this point?
No, Dougie, you get a 6. You would have been a 5, but you're Scottish, so you always get one more for that.
I think his vocals were good. It's material. He was on shit material.
I was literally about to say that. You're only as good as the material you've been given. I worked as a session singer once, and some of the stuff I was given was so fucking bad. So bad. So I get it. I do understand.
But that's us. That is the Does Metal Have Soul podcast. What do you guys think of YNGWIE Malmsteen? What do you think of the neoclassical metal thing? Can you make any recommendations of neoclassical metal? For Mel, obviously, I have stuck strictly to Malmsteen. There's much better neoclassical recordings that I can recommend, and that power metal, which is another thing that would come up with music like this, neoclassical, but also very much power metal-y aspect to it.
What are we doing next week?
I will decide during the week.
Ah, fuck. I like the surprise and to tell people.
Yeah. Some things we're probably going to have to start talking about thrash. So, like Metallica or Slayer, possibly.
Okay.
All right. So, next week, thrash. Sound off in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button. And until next week...
Suck a bag of Richards. Bye.
I will never die, 'cause I will fly to the other side.